Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Amashiach Yahweh Shah. That's peace to God in Christ in Paleo Hebrew. Today we're going to get into the Hebrew Israelite Stanley family. All the Negroes with the surname Stanley in the Americas, the Caribbean islands, Europe, and all the Negroes that scatter abroad with the surname Stanley. Before the narrative that y'all was slaves here in the Americas and the Caribbean islands, you guys was royalty in Europe. You guys was royalty in England and Ireland. To remind y'all, England and Ireland was once ruled by our last Negro king, King Charles and the Stuarts.
In the book, When Scotland Was Jewish, quote, "The Scottish royal Stuarts were equally dark and Semitic in appearance. Of Charles II's dusky appearance, his mother, Queen Henrietta Maria, had been half mortified, writing after her confinement that the child was so dark she was ashamed of him. He was quickly dubbed the Black Boy."
To remind y'all, the Negroes, the Hebrews, we ruled the Dark Ages of Europe for 1,000 years, from 500 AD to 1500 AD. That was prophecy fulfilled in Revelations 20:6. Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death have no power, but they shall be priests of Yahweh and of Yahweh Shah, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. So from 500 AD to 1500 AD, we ruled with Christ and Yahweh as priests. In the 1100 AD, we created these family surnames like Stanley as the Norman Barons.
My question is, who were the Normans in 1066? On to the next slide, please. And here are the Normans. Have they ever told you they were black?
Oh, stop it. You know I ain't got no hair to fall out.
Look, I have 1,000 of these images. Lewis, Gaspard, Henri, Joseph, Maurice. These are the Normans.
So now that we verified that the Normans were black, let's verify that the Normans introduced our surnames. Did the Normans introduce surnames? Following the invasion and subsequent occupation of the Normans in England in 1066, hereditary surnames were to be introduced by Norman barons. Since we verified that the Normans introduced our surnames, what does having a surname teaches us? Do a surname originate from? Does a surname mean anything? A last name, also known as a family name or surname, is typically passed down from one generation to the next. Surnames can provide insight into a person's ancestry, cultural background, or geographic origins. So your surname typically will verify where your family originate from. From the 1500 AD and on, with the fall of the Eastern Byzantine Empire, which was ran by Negroes, and the rise of the Western Roman Empire, which was ran by Edomites, Caucasians, Revelations 20:7 happened. And when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. So when the Edomites was let out, evils multiplied on the earth, and black nobility started to crumble in Europe. And Revelations 20:8 happened. And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. So they deceived the nations, chiefly us. They made us believe our Christ was white, our saints was white, and the bearers of our surnames, our forefathers, was white. And to remind y'all, the Stanley family did not get caught in slavery in Africa. The Stanley family got caught in slavery in Europe as royals and nobles, and became prisoners of war by Oliver Cromwell. In the Hartford Stanley family, Stanley immigrant, we find that James Stanley imported from Newgate Prison to Maryland in September 1737 as an indentured servant. Now let's see who was housed in the Newgate prisons during this time. With the help of AI, yes, Jacobite prisoners were held in Newgate prisons after the 1750 Jacobite rebellion. Newgate was a notorious prison in London that held many famous prisoners over the centuries. So this is the Stanley family history before slavery and indentured servitude. The Stanley family, the Negroes, the Hebrews before slavery in England and Ireland. Etymology of Stanley. The lineage of the name Stanley begins with the Anglo-Saxon tribes in Britain. Prove the Anglo-Saxons were black. Updown Girl. Updown Girl is the name given to the skeletal remains of a young Anglo-Saxon girl discovered at the early 17th century burial site close to Updown House in Estuary, Kent, England. Although first found in 1989, the Updown Girl arose new interest in 2022 when modern analysts of her DNA indicate she has some West African ancestry, which evidence suggests her parental grandfather, possibly of great-grandfather, came from either Isan or Yoruba population group. Isan is an chocolate Edomite colored group in Africa, and the Yorubas are the Hebrews in Africa. Is a result of when they lived in the country of Cumberland in an area that was defined as a stony clearing or stony field. Stanley is a topographic surname which was given a person who resided near physical features such as a hill, stream, church, or type of tree. During the Middle Ages, as society became more complex, individuals needed a way to distinguish from other toponymic surnames were developed as a result of this need. Various features in the landscape or area were used to distinguish people from one another. In this case, the original bearer of the surname Stanley was named due to their close proximity to the early origins of the Stanley family. The surname Stanley was first found in Cambridgeshire as Stoneleigh, hamlet near Kimballton, and home to Stoneleigh Priory, which was established in 1180 and dissolved in 1536. By the time of the conquest, there were several listings of the name in the Domesday Book, including Stanley in Derbyshire and West Yorkshire, Stanley in Gloucestershire, and Stanley, now Stoneleigh, in Warwickshire. This place name literally means stony wood clearing. Descent from a younger branch of the barons, Audley is Staffordshire. The name of Stanley from the manor of that name is this county in the reign of John was assumed by William D. Another branch of the family was established in very early times in Humby, Lancashire. The castle was originally found soon after the Norman conquest. It was subsequently the residence of the Stanley Lords Montague, to one of whom the mysterious letter was sent, which led to the discovery of the Gunpowder Plot. And the Gunpowder Plot was the Roman Catholic Church and the Jesuits trying to kill our king, King James I, the Bible bearer. Later, the Stanleys of Elderly and the Stanleys of Houghton became the sole owners of the township of Great Moss in Cheshire. And here are some notables of the Stanley family. 1350 to 1440, we got a Sir John Stanley, Lord Lieutenant of Ireland and Tutelar, King of Man. Sir Thomas Stanley, 1435 to 1504, created first Earl of Derby in 1485. To remind you, in these times, the Caucasian Edomite wildman was in the outskirts of Europe in the woods as wildman, and you could Google wildmen and Moors to verify that information. Then we find the George Stanley, 9th Baron, Strange of Nucknan, KB, 1460 to 1503. There's numerous surnames of black royals with the surname Stanley that ruled their territory in Ireland or England. To remind the Stanley family, your history was not erased, stolen, then whitewashed. Stanley family, you got family here in the Americas, Caribbean islands, Europe. It's about time that y'all remember who y'all are. Go into y'all coat of arms, house and name, and bear witness to your notables. If y'all all do that, y'all all become one. Once y'all do that, y'all come back to the Amashiach Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Keep the commandments and get your blessing. This is the house of St. Nicholas and the Nicholas family. I hope the Stanley family was edified. Shalom.